Hey everyone. The following is a condensed sample coaching session. We cover lane itemization, how to lane with a lead, exploiting enemy weaknesses, creating map pressure, and how to use a soul lead to actually carry your teammates. The audio is distorted in some sections. This will be fixed in the future. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Heresy, a longtime high-elo deadlock player, currently sitting comfortably in NA's top 50. For those interested in expanding their game knowledge and performance as fast as possible, consider booking a private coaching session. The link is in the description below. Zoom out a bit and look at the lane matchup here. You have McGinnis. McGinnis, certainly into these characters, is going to have wave priority. McGinnis is very good at pushing waves. Not necessarily great at PvP and trading, but very good at maintaining constant wave priority, which has great synergy with people that themselves are able to get poke damage. That's not necessarily true of Haze, though buying items like Headshot Booster actually give you that poking tool. That's why I think it was appropriate to buy a Headshot Booster even though you were low on HP. Because though you were low on HP, so were your opponents, and your McGinnis was full. And so I think as long as you're making sure that you don't get all-in by the Drifter who really wants to get in melee range of you, you can see that certainly with his item purchase. You know, they're both very low on HP. They are low enough they should be buying health items. But he's greeting very heavily, and you can know that if you're holding tab and you check his item, you can see that it's good to do that, especially when your opponents are low. Because when they're low, it's most critical, like, are they going to buy a healing item or are they not? Because if they don't, now you know you have a real opportunity to put pressure on them, especially since you're the ranged character. And so, looking at this now, you have wave priority by virtue of having a McGinnis. By the way, that's true because Drifter does not have long range damage. He's a very close quarters character. And Wraith is one of the weaker laners in the game. All basically she can do is shoot minions, but has very weak ability at poking. Very similar to your character, except you have, I think, more tools for poke and initiation off of by virtue of the Sleep Dagger. So I would be here thinking, okay, I'm McGinnis is shoving the wave, which is what you should be doing. You should be putting pressure on your opponents because they're low on HP. You don't want to let them have the time to recall. You don't want to give them time to earn the souls to buy health items. You want to try to capitalize on your lead now. I would not be standing back here by the steps, even though you are low. I think the threat here is not the Wraith. You know, the Wraith is not going to one-shot you from a distance. You can probably dodge her card. And also, you know she doesn't herself have, like, Headshot Booster, which, you know, might burst you down. Your only threat, really, is the Drifter. And right now, I think for this whole wave, I'm afraid to do a lot of pausing and rewinding because it breaks the replay client. I think it's worth it here, though. Even though you're low here, I think you can be thinking, the Wraith really can't interact with you. So your only concern is not getting close to that Drifter. So after you heal up here, you heal up here when McGinnis, also healing unit comes in, you have like 250 HP here. I would be walking up to the left bridge. Try to stand on the bridge. Once you see where the Drifter is. And right now, I think the Drifter can see your minions, or rather, your minions can see Drifter. You know he's there, whether or not you see him on the bridge. You can see it as a map. I think what the McGinnis is doing right now is actually what you should be doing. Even though you're low, and it's good that maybe, you know, be cognizant, I'm low, I don't want to overextend. Your opponents are lower, and you have the tool to actually finish them off. So your Headshot Booster has actually been off cooldown the entire wave, and you haven't tried to use it on your opponents. I think that's an example of a lot of pressure you're missing in this lane you could be using to, I think, a better player right now with probably, I guess, I'm assuming against Drifter at rate of this Elo, be able to kill them by now. Just by knowing I have Headshot Booster, they don't have healing items, and they actually can't kill me, even though I'm low on health. So just be thinking about your item cooldowns and also the advantage you have in lane and how to actually use it. You don't always have the advantage, but in a situation like this, you know, I think you certainly do. Like right now, I think I heard a healing right. Yes, Drifter. He did realize he was low, and he bought healing right. Okay, looks like you're going to look to cancel it. That's a good instinct. You know he's healing writing, and you're trying to cancel it.
Weak minds
Mechanical
can never
error,
catch me.
you weren't able to, but that's okay. The idea is good, but you could do even better. Usually the Wraith is able to recall. You went for the box here. think I'm going to chance the rewind. You crashed the wave, and they were low and on their shop. And I don't know if you know what you were thinking here, but even though you're relatively low on HP, when you know they are hugging the right side here, you really yourself don't want to be taking this close right angle where they can just tuck into the building and they can just hide from you. I would be wrapping the left side here. Play up on their camp. Either take it with the McGinnis right now, which is I think really what you should be doing, assuming the enemies hide from you. Your McGinnis should be walking up to take their camp. That's one way to capitalize on your lead. But even yourself, without ever risking tower aggro, if you walk up these steps, maybe play in this building, you can look for an off angle to shoot them when they're in their shop. You actually can predict that they're going to do that, because I think when they kill this wave, they're going to hit 1.6. Yeah, see, they both hit 1.7, so you actually know they're going to go shop, especially because they're low. And so you're taking that off angle. Even if you don't kill them, you could still be proccing that headshot booster. You know, really just not let them breathe.
Yep. You saw I was trying to pull around the side there. I was trying to catch a sleep dagger, and then I sit on the staircase, but then I saw that my McGinnis had started moving backward. Because I was trying to do exactly that. I know I have an advantage. I'm trying to push forward and get that wave crash for the invade. But then she was back, so I moved back down, trying not to overextend.
Yeah, well, so, and that's good. I will say one thing. You procced your spirit shielding, and you had 333 of it, I think, for the last, 7 seconds, I want to say? 8 seconds. The last 8 seconds. That whole time, the last 8 seconds you've been on the stairs, you had your whole spirit shielding, and you didn't actually use it, which means the item was effectively useless. You were low, and so you backed up, which is generally appropriate on a ranged character to do, but knowing that you have an item like spirit shielding, this item is only good when you're actually leveraging that effective HP from the barrier. And so whether or not you intended to proc it, noticing, oh, I've procced my spirit shielding, see that on your health bar, you have basically 350 health to go use to trade against your opponents. If you just play the stairs and play safe, it's like, okay, you're going to live, sure. But if you actually just ran at them, even if, say, when you ran at them, you were only able to do maybe 200 damage to them, but they did 350 to you. Normally that'd be considered a bad trade, right? It's, they do twice as much damage to you. How can that be good? But if that HP you're losing is a temporary shield that is already going to be on cooldown, I mean, look at it. It's 360 barrier, 35-second cooldown. If, hypothetically, you used the entire spirit shielding barrier off CD, it's 10 effective health regen per second you're using. It's like it's stronger than heal right. I think heal right is 5. It's about 5 health regen per second if you use it off cooldown immediately. So this item is incredibly effective when you're able to leverage it. And so it's when you're buying items like this, which can be complicated. You have active reload as well to manage. But when you have these active items that have specific procs, you have to be very cognizant that you're actually using them. Because when you don't, when you fail to use these items like that are so situational, you actually are much stronger than you would be otherwise if you just bought some flat item like Battle Vest or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is good. I think this is the item to buy here, certainly in this meta. That always changes, so I don't want to focus on what particular item is best in the meta. But it's always going to be true of an item like Spirit Shielding. When it procs, you should try to use it. Don't kill yourself for it. Obviously, that's not good. But seeing that the health here, you're about 40% HP, 30% HP. They're both around 60. Imagine if you were able to do 300 damage. And you, while taking 300 damage, but it all went into your barrier. Then instead of you both being lower health than them, you'd actually be higher health than them right now. It'd be a very different situation.
No, that's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, that's what Rick's good at. I think he had full auto proc
there. I get. It was a little bit aggressive for me, but yeah, the turret got dropped as soon as I pressed it. So that's been a problem I've had pretty consistently. I think that's something I need to probably play around better. But the number of times I've been killed by something like that and lost a lead or pushed a lead that was good and made it neutral has been way too many.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those fight micro things. You hit your sleep dagger and you're thinking, okay, I get a lot of value here if I get my heavy melee off. So you recognize that. I'll try to leverage that opportunity. But in that situation, especially if you're so low on health, oh, well, screw you. That was good. You recognize that you're going to beat him in that duel. He didn't recognize that. Yeah, but in that previous fight, it's not always the case that when you hit something like Sleep Dagger that you can get that melee off. And that's just one of those things that, as a player, you'll just have to get a sense for.
I go where I wish.
Okay, it's good here that I think you're returning to McGinnis.
It's only the beginning.
Okay, that's very relatively minor thing, but that whole engagement, you had free stamina. I would have liked to see dashing,
They
sliding,
destroyed the Guardian on blue.
preserve your ammo a bit. You ended up killing her with one bullet left in your mag, and well, of course it worked
Be
out.
brave.
If she's dashing
Our
around or
blue
you miss a
walker
little
is
bit
under
or any
attack.
other extenuating circumstance happens,
Have
I think
fun.
it's always
Don't
a
get
great
dead.
habit to
Sounds
be
good.
sliding in this game. It's one of those kind of unique deadlock mechanics that I think committing to muscle memory is very important, especially on an M1 character like Case. When you're taking fights, like even right then sliding down the stairs, or rather backing up the stairs, sliding as just being sort of automatic.
Sure. Yeah. So tell me if I'm wrong here. So the reason I didn't in that particular instance was because I actually wanted to go low on ammo. I know that I could fight forward. I wanted to proc active reload, but still get out the damage in my magazine. So my thought was proc the active, get out the damage in my magazine, get the active reload, and then get the attack speed buffs for either trying to kill him for an all-in or to kill the turret.
Well, good that you're thinking about the active reload proc. I'd say this is a situation where it's actually a both and. I don't think it interrupts your shooting at all when you slide in this game. I think you can be shooting
You're
and
correct.
slide. And so
Absolutely.
whether or not there was a conscious decision made there, I think most players, as you get into higher elos, one of those sort of mechanical optimizations they make is more or less at every opportunity where they can slide for no cost, certainly, like when going down surfaces, they do. And so that'd be a situation where even if you were intending to reload like immediately after to proc after active reload, I'd still say the fact that you didn't automatically slide down that staircase shows that that's not something you necessarily have ingrained.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a real sense, even though that's very minor, since you lose nothing whatsoever for sliding, in fact, it actually makes you harder to shoot to begin with. And so it's just good on its own.
Especially on stairs because you have an angle.
Yeah, I think there's no downsides, only upsides. And so that's a situation which, yes, I think sliding is appropriate, even if ammo in that particular instance is not a concern of yours. I will say, secondarily, I like that you focused down the tower there when you saw that it was so low. The Drifter ult, very impactful. Very oftentimes you get Drifter ulted and it's the correct thing to do is run away, but I think you knew that you could finish off the tower there. And that was correct.
Yeah, he's low health as well. I know that I'll be able to sit here with the McGinnis.
You've been playing, looks like you're playing more traditional gun carry Haze.
Yeah, no, I am not pick Haze in this game.
Nonetheless, there's still something you consider, like having an advantage if your opponents don't know. Playing around your business, your skill gauge, how you want to be playing beside that's when you're pushing. Especially when you have a character like McGinnis right now. McGinnis is going to be herself, walking down the lane, really just controlling space. Maybe trying to actively, in moments like this when you know the enemy is going to be showing up quite in McGinnis, looking for off angles, looking to sneak up on people and enter the fight. Yeah. Especially right now, you've hit such an enormous power spike. We haven't spoken about that yet, but you just bought Blood Tribute. If you run into a fight, and you also got Hollow Point, a few minutes ago, if instead of right now playing the lane right now, it's kind of square, kind of playing side by side with the McGinnis, I think if you are, after you buy that item, letting the McGinnis farm the wave, you're still collecting souls from it if you play on the inside here. And again, I don't know if you know this, they changed this relatively frequently, but in Deadlock, you gain 30% more total souls when you share a wave with one teammate.
Yep.
It is very important at all levels of play to be utilizing that. Every other ratio of people, it's worse. But
Yeah.
particularly when you have 2 people, it's best.
Yes. So one person gets 100%, 2 people get 130% total, 3 people get 80% total, and it goes downhill from there.
Exactly. So in a situation like this, when you know the McGinnis, full HP, up on souls, right? Those things to always be considering. You know, is my teammate strong? Like, can they handle themselves? In a situation like this, I think the answer is yes. Instead of walking up on the wave with them and just running at the enemies, go inside. Maybe pop invis and try to look for an angle around left. You know, surprise, hit the wraith or the holiday from the side of the sleep dagger. Pop your blood tribute right before, you know, and just blow them up with bullet dance. Obviously that might not work, but I think since your ultimate's on cooldown, you have a soul advantage. You're pushing the wave. The McGinnis can fend for herself. That's one of the ways to really use your character's full kit effectively to make something happen. Because but since you're up souls, this is something to consider always, especially in your games. By shooting the wave front to back and just walking, marching forward, you're actually scaring Holiday and Wraith off. And they're hard to kill as is. They're some of the most difficult champs in the game to kill. They're extremely mobile, particularly the Holiday.
Absolutely.
You know, if you walk at them here, even if you catch a sleep dagger here, you're not going to kill the Holiday. You're going to get to her, barely going to get to her by the time she wakes up, and she's going to be flying away. It's very hard to actually kill them here. So, I think since your ult's on cooldown, you're so strong right now. But just don't do the lazy thing of walking down the lane. It's always good to shove lanes. You know, you need to do that in MOBAs to get prio. But in this instance, you know your McGinnis is already doing that, and you're playing a character that is effective at ganking. You know, more so than a character like Infernus or something. You know, the best way to leverage your lead here is try to assassinate people. And I think playing the lane here is it's kind of the lazy thing to do.
Yeah, so that's actually really good to hear. The reason I'm not thinking about that is, if you can see, there's nothing except for their camp there that's really there. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what's the thing that's going to be the highest value for me? Get the wave pushed out, hold us. Then I, of course, get a little bit engaged on. So now I have a shield, and so I'm like, okay, I can just walk into this and use a spirit shield. Then I make a little mistake there. I get caught on the edge of the door, and I'm not using the cover nearly as much as I should. But yeah,
and I would actually be sliding a bit more, especially on a gun character like this. That's kind of mine, but I'll bring it up again. You have enough gun damage. You can kill camps with just one magazine. Generally speaking, by sliding once or twice, just to because it effectively increases your magazine.
Tell you what, I'll throw in a free kick
you're sliding into the camp, and so in a room like that, it can save you a second or two pretty consistently. I know in your case you have active reload, but even doing something like popping active reload, and then sliding to make sure that the active reload lasts for 90 bullets instead of 58. Means you could both kill the camp a little faster, but also spare some extra.
I manipulate time.
Just those little things to think about.
Yep. You can see here where I do hold off on the bullet dance because I know she has her ult. Like I said, if I'm only looking at one character, it's a lot easier for me to think about those sorts of things. Also, I was like, I might not need it, but yeah.
That's good there. Okay, so yeah, notably, the enemy jungle really has nothing there. Normally, a character like you would be wanting to invade there, because if you stumble across anyone, you're going to be the one killing them. Sleep dagger, blow them up with bullet dance.
Yeah. Here, I tell her to back off, by the way, and because I'm going to go mid, I feel like I can get. I saw that they got fairly low. I know that they've got a tower here. I can get us a slot, which can allow me to do a lot of things and get out there pretty scot-free and potentially even get a pick.
I think rotating mid there is proactive. That is good. It's unfortunate that Germany gets pushed tomorrow. Probably going to lose the whole tower. That is not necessarily fault, especially if you comp.
They've taken our green guardian.
There's a degree, uncertainty there. And now you've taken all the towers, and you're up a flex slot. And the urn is even. When you're considering things like urns, really any objective, but particularly the things like urn and mid-boss, ultimate economy matters just as much as who's ahead in souls. When you have a character like Dynamo, enormously impactful ult. Not every character's ult is equally impactful. Bebop and Dynamo ult very different, particularly with regard to
condensed fights over objectives. So
Absolutely.
normally, I'll use this as a teaching point, even though it isn't really totally relevant in this particular instance. You are up like 6 or 7k souls. You are also fed, and your McGinnis is a fantastic split pusher. With that all being the case, I think generally it'd be very good for your team to begin to make a play with the urn, especially because you want to already be protecting this side of the map because you have a flex slot to hang on to. You know the enemies are
Absolutely.
going to want to stack up and take this. This walker is already weak. All of those are like little variables that I think indicate grabbing the urn when you have control of it while it's still even, and diverting your team's resources to this side of the map, which is the correct thing to do.
Absolutely. I did ask the Dynamo to run that urn. Of course, now I know that was probably not the correct play, but
It's complicated.
I
because
did ask, and then
one thing, and this matters more when people are a bit more coordinated in higher elos. You know, this is a bit more every man for himself, which is why I'm saying it's not like objectively correct here. But one thing you could do here, even with your Dynamo's ult on cooldown, which is very important, I still think you probably win the fight anyway with your team. But since you have a Paradox and a Haze, both characters that are good at getting picks, and you're both the fed people, I think a very realistic scenario that you can rely on in a situation like that is play the urn and just hold it and look for a kill. Look for a pick.
Yep.
You know, you can call your teammate to pick it up. Like, say, Dynamo, you don't have ult. Can you pick up the urn here? We're going to look for a kill right side here. You know the McGinnis is going to be walking up here, and you know people are going to respond to that and try to get rid of her, especially if they think that, you know, your team's running the urn. They might be thinking like, oh, well, they're going to get the urn, but we're going to kill McGinnis, you know, something like that. Looking, because when you're holding the urn, you're in control of the situation.
Yeah.
They can't run the urn when you're holding the urn. And so when you hold the urn, you can oftentimes force the enemies to panic and do things like bait your McGinnis. And since you're a pick character, I wouldn't be saying this if you're playing any character in the game, but you're playing a character that's very good at like ganking people. And so one thing to be thinking about always is there a lane or an area in the jungle right now where I'm likely to catch someone out? I think in a situation like this, you know, if you force the split push with the McGinnis, you could totally just end the game here by baiting the McGinnis, getting a pick kill on whoever shows up to kill her, and then your team gets the urn afterwards because you're up a player, you know?
That's how you snowball a game.
Throwing your lives away.
Leveraging the advantage of your character and the souls that you have.
Yeah, here's the big mistake that I made. One, I've got 4.8k souls, right? I've got a big buy. Two, I've got one person who's backing off because they're low, and I don't see that another person's low. And this is what I was talking about, the duration of that. I thought that I would be able to sleep him and then wait, and then he would fall down still asleep. But, you know, nobody else is in the area. I think this is where I threw away the game. I think this is the moment where I threw away the game.
Yeah, it's yeah, your team certainly was in charge there, and now you've lost your momentum. I will say minor, because I think the macro mistake is larger there than anything. I think you get that. But your blood tribute was on the whole time, so I think you lost a lot more HP than you needed to, considering you weren't being CC'd, you know? You're just being beamed down by Bebop. I think you lost like 500 health from your blood tribute, because you had it on the whole time and you were kind of panicking. But also, I think even with him ulting, I think you actually would have just killed him instantly with bullet days. You would have died after, but that would have been a fine way to just say, okay, I messed up, but I can at least go 1-1 here. It's one of those luxuries you have when you are up so many souls against a player like that, you know?
I was panicking absolutely there. I don't know that the bullet dance would have killed him, but I mean, what's the loss there? I go for one, is like you're saying.
Yeah, I say that because of how much damage you did to him, even after the whole botched Slick Dagger scenario. Like, you know this was wrong, and you expected his ult to end, you know? But even here with him up there, I think if you pop bullet dance like right under him, you kill him in like a second and a half, considering I think your massive soul advantage and the advantage of bullet tribute plus active reload.
Yep. Yeah, I think my thought there was one, the big mistake there, of course, like I said. Oh, sorry.
gonna say the replay was bugged there. It didn't look like he took any damage, but he actually did half of his health there with like 30 bullets.
Yep.
That's actually why I
Yep.
said that I'm confident bullet dance would have killed him.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was probably what I was thinking there is he can aim his laser if I hit him with anything. So I'm thinking, okay, well, he aims his laser at me and I die anyways. And I'm thinking I might be able to get out or kill him on the way out. But yeah, no, I think that's clearly a mistake. And then, like you said, the blood tribute. I was sitting there doing that, leaving blood tribute on while I'm waiting for him to fall down.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, that makes
happens,
sense.
Though. This game is certainly not over yet, and you have influence. You know, you're generally higher souls on your team than your average teammate. It kind of just is you, Paradox, McGinnis to a lesser extent. Here, you know, we've kind of focused more on like fight and gank macro, but haven't really discussed as much really how you close out a game of Deadlock. It's by achieving control of the mid boss.
Yeah,
Really
picking and
everything
getting
you're
the
doing.
boss.
Yeah, everything you're doing in the side lanes to, you know, get kills, siege walkers, steal jungle, to, you know, acquire leads over your opponents. All of that is being leveraged toward really getting the mid boss. That's what multiplies your strength so much that you actually have the power to siege them in their base. And so when you're ahead and you're hitting certainly the 23-minute mark like you were, that is certainly the period of the game where really everything you do should be directly, you should be thinking in terms of how does this affect mid boss.
Yeah,
you know,
basically once I hit 8, yeah.
You get one kill, you can snowball into mid boss. If you get two kills for free, you know, in most cases that is mid boss. It's like, especially on a character like yours, you know, where you have such an ability to solo run someone down, you know, gank them. Really, I think all of your decisions should be like, how can I make that happen? How can I force someone to orchestrate a mid boss play?
Our blue walker is under attack.
And for reference, by 18 minutes, I'm thinking if we get 2 picks and we're in the area, we take it immediately. And then if that after about 20 minutes, it's 1, then we can go to mid boss. At the very least, we can get the not the death rattle, but the yell, so we can bait the mid boss to get a guaranteed kill if we're having issues, if we're down ults, things like that. But
so
yeah.
And that is generally correct. Obviously, there's always variables you can't just,
of course.
You know, like who has what ultimate. You know, certain ultimates matter a lot. You know, 7 ultimate, Kelvin Dome, Dynamo. Those are those high impact mid boss ults that can change things a lot. You know, you might be up a player, but you might be down ults. Always very important to consider.
Of course.
Though, you know, in light of what we were discussing, you know, everything at this stage of the game should be in terms of making mid boss happen. Your team is very lucky the enemies did not do mid-boss themselves. They absolutely had the opportunity to, and they squandered it. But you had a clean slate, you know, souls relatively even until your teammates died a second ago. You caught a mid-wave. You know, you jungled a little bit. You caught the mid-wave again. All the while, your team, for better or worse, right? You know, this probably was stupid of them, but you had 3 or 4 of your teammates run all the way up left lane, and they were fighting that whole time. I think in a situation like that, when you don't really need the walker, you don't really have the info on them. You didn't really have your wave pushed up to the walker anyway. It'd be one thing if there was a wave here to crash and you were already standing here, you know. Maybe you go, I can't really get to that fight in time. I'll just take the walker. But you're actually here while your team is making a play here. I think even in circumstances where your team is not talking, you don't really know what's happening. I think it's in your best interest generally, especially when you have top souls. You have top souls now. You know, Paradox was ahead of you, but you've caught up now after your sidewave escapades. You are the team captain right now. You make stuff happen.
Yeah.
If you're not at a fight and your team is fighting, whether or not they're being stupid by being at that fight, they're probably not going to win without you. So I think you need to be very sensitive to your teammates' inting, so to speak. You know, if your teammates are up here fighting left lane and there's no real objective, if you don't have some particular reason to be here still, get to that fight. Get to that fight as fast as possible, because you can change the game that way. I think you caught the wave when it was at the walker, which you're more or less forced to do. But I think instead of jungling here when your team was pushing up that lane, and I'd rewind it, but I'm afraid I'm going to break the client.
Yeah, no problem.
You were hitting that camp when your teammate was around the urn. And so I think that in a
case like that late game where you don't really need souls at this particular moment and your team is making a play, you need to get active too. You always need to be thinking,
Yeah.
if your team is getting active, generally speaking, it's best for you to get active as well. If your team is passive, okay, fine. Farm the jungle camp, just hold the fort down, wait for the next set of buffs, wait for the comebacker and defend your walker, There are times in the game where that's what you should be doing. But late game, when kills equate to mid boss, which ends the game, if your team is making money moves up past the halfway point of the map, you got to do that also,
That makes sense. I had just had a play where I tried to come in when they were doing something that I felt was not the right decision, and then I died for it. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to do that again. I might as well get farmed up. I'm now behind where the drifter is. I can't necessarily murk him. I'm on a power trough. I need to get my ricochet so I can start playing forward. But I think that you are absolutely correct. That is probably not the right thing to be doing at this point in the game. It's not just them ending, it's we lose the game off of that end if they go to the mid boss.
Because that's the dance of MOBAs. Obviously farming your camps, trying to think about what's my next item, doing something is good, right? It's not like you were just twiddling your thumbs or you were like in your shop or something. You were killing the camp, probably contemplating your next item buy. That's not inting per se, but I do think, is that actually the thing that is going to win you the game the most of the time? Unfortunately not. Your team is making a play. If it's 14 minutes in the game, it's completely different. It's completely different, Oh, you're catching the wave on your walker. It's like, you gotta do that, But if it's 25 minutes in, the game is decided by... if three of your teammates die randomly at this set, like at the firehouse, it's GG for you. Or at least it should be. You should be thinking that way, because as you get higher elo, that would be the case.
Yeah, it's late game at this point.
Yeah, it is late game.
You have to think about what is the risk versus the reward. Yes, they may be making the wrong play, but if I come in and save that play, then it potentially saves us the game. And even if it was going to be the wrong play and they were all going to die anyways, and I was just going to add another death to the pile, that is still like game. It's the game either way. Is kind of how I should be thinking about it in that case. It's either the game or should be in the case of low elo. It's either the game and I wasn't there, or it's the game and I went there, I died, and it's the game anyways. But there's a chance if I go there that I can be the difference maker. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Our blue walker is under attack.
Oh, okay. And this is one thing. I think maybe this particular point is so important. Your presence on the map. When you are highest souls, this is so important to grasp. You are a higher percentage of your team's power than the average player on your team. If you're like 30k souls and everyone else on your team is like 24k, you yourself, it's like you're a quarter of the team. That's just generally how these things go. Even though farming, in a sense, helps you maintain that lead, it makes you stronger. And maybe you're thinking in terms of like, if I hit this item, I'm already strong, then I'll be super strong, then I'll be able to win the game or something. You have to think, every single second you're doing something passive, like farming a back jungle camp, that's a second that you are not leveraging your soul advantage to bully the enemies. It's like, if you're doing something passive like farming a back camp, what's everyone else in your team doing? Are they all doing that? If they're all doing that, okay, maybe that's fine. But odds are, if you're top souls and you're farming a back camp, someone else on your team is catching some side wave where there's no walker, They're even more vulnerable than you. In fact, they're not just vulnerable, I mean, they're likely to be killed. And that actually gives you information, because that's like, okay, why am I here? I know that you were farming a while ago. I'm just using this example. Say right now you were farming the back camp, Your teammates are probably safe on the blue walker, gives them resistances, But the dynamo, the enemy team, they got a
Have a holiday, have a beatbot, a drifter. They could pop out of the shadows and kill this guy really quickly, you know? You're not poor Dynamo catching
Absolutely.
a side wave. This guy's vulnerable. You could be thinking, ooh, I have a vulnerable teammate. He's bait. If I show up to that fight, I'm top souls. I can flip it on them. That's how you leverage the fact that you have a soul lead to close a game out, you know? Because you got to be thinking, every minute you're not doing something, you're just giving your teammates air to breathe. It's the same kind of problem, you know, you had in Lane Face, like where you're playing very passive, you bought the healing right, you weren't standing on the bridge and using your headshot booster. It's like, and the Wraith was able to recall while the Drifter bought healing right. This is that same kind of concept. You are in a stage where you're generally ahead. You're ahead of souls. You have lane pressure. That's not always going to be the case as you rank up. You know, things will even out, but it's never not going to be the case. That when you're ahead, it's on you to make something happen.
Yeah. If I am ahead enough that I can actually call for it, I will usually be able to. Like I am calling. I have tons of mid boss takes generally. Like the first thing I do when there's a couple of picks, or even one person, is see about whether or not I can't get that mid boss. But it just felt like I was never in the position where I could.
It's so strong. I'd say by you being up here, this is very risky. You shouldn't be incorrect. Now, only 2 of them show up kill you, and you play it well, and so like that works out tremendously. You should be calling mid boss here.
I did.
Like
you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the moment I have picks like that, the first thing I'm doing is calling that mid boss.
By the way, I know I said you shouldn't be there, and I kind of glossed over it. I just meant that was another situation where I think there were 2 or 3 of your teammates over here, and there was an enemy fighting them, and like another teammate kind of here, and there's an enemy here. So like by you being here when there's no walker, and you can never realistically pressure the base guardian, and again, you should be thinking, getting picks here turns into mid boss. You being over here so far away from your team is it's more risky than it is helpful. Because it's like, you won that 1v2. That's fantastic. Imagine if just for once, because I don't think you've been able to do this yet, like actually just had like a 5v5 or 6v6 with your team, you'd almost be even better able to do that, because then you wouldn't be taking all of the flack. You'd have some teammates to, you know, step in for you. I think if you are able to if you play with your team more, especially since Hayes, you know, you come in from the side, when enemies are being distracted by your teammates taking a fight or just kind of posturing, that's when you can come in from the side angle while invisible to sleep dagger someone. You don't have to play by yourself. In fact, I generally think you shouldn't.
It is descending.
Hayes is very similar to like Hayes as a base. Paradox Holiday. You know, much more than the other M1 characters. She's like a cross between an M1 carry and a pick character. Even when you primarily build M1, she's still
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, this is another thing where I lost things. I thought we were going forward. I called for us to push. I didn't see that people were going as far back, and I didn't expect to get bebopped into a holiday lasso, into a walker stun, into a bunch of other stuff, but I should have expected that. That's like, how do we lose?
It's very hard to prevent that when you're in the front or you're caught out, you know? It's not like you failed by getting bebopped, hooked, and lassoed. That's just going to happen to you. But the real
it was the positioning that I failed.
Was, you were playing too far up. You know, it's one thing if you're like exploding someone on the side lane, like of course jump on top of them. But when you're top souls on your team, no, they're your shields. You know, you don't need to run in first anymore, especially against a team that has answers to you. You know, if the Wraith ults you, that sucks. 7 puts a static charge on you, that sucks. Holiday lassos you, you're dead. You know, so you even though you're pretty tanky, you know, you have frenzy, you have siphon bullets, you have blood tribute. You know, you're not a glass cannon.
I think it's time to remind
your
them who
life
the
matters
lies around here.
You cannot just be saying like, okay, we have mid boss, hold W, everyone run forward. Especially in an elo where your team doesn't have the coordination to follow you. Unfortunately, I do think the correct thing to do is just let your team start the fights. Calm as much as you want, you know, but don't let yourself be the only person.
We only have one shrine
Easier
left.
said than done. But that's the difference between carrying the gaze and not.
Exquisite.
Yeah, you're in a bad situation now. That does seem to be a through line to you. You're in the lead and you know it, and so you try to do a lot, but it seems you're trying to do too much.
Absolutely.
See, even there, like it's like you can beat anyone in a 1v1, so you're eagerly taking fights with people, but you're just in a situation where it doesn't look like your first thought is like, am I fighting with my team? Like, do I have like support here to help me kill everyone? It seems like you're still playing the team fights like you play your side lane ganks.
Bring your enemies
And
along.
obviously, you had success with those. Oh, yeah, you got that double kill 3 minutes ago that should have won the game, but seems there's some over-aggression generally in the team fight play.
Yeah.
Do you have any maybe last question, or something might have been unrelated to the game, the bot itself, that you're curious about?
There are definitely a number of things. In a game where things are behind, my default, which you did see in that game, so it is tangentially related, my default is to try to, instead of being super active, it's taking what I can and then trying to make picks. Side wave, that push forward a side wave, see if I can get something off the back of that by moving over to a fight. Should I be sticking around with my team? Should I be deathballing a little bit more, like you were saying? Like, is that something I should put more in my mindset? Because I think push the side wave out, get a little bit more farmed up, and then move back over to the team, try and hunt over. Should I be playing with the team a little bit more at that point, especially if I'm ahead, or if our team is behind but I am ahead in general?
So I'm going to give an answer that might be slightly frustrating, but perhaps also hopefully inspiring. The thing you should be, or rather, the way you should be thinking about the game when you're behind is actually, I'd say, arguably the same way you should be thinking about it when ahead. Because ultimately, in Deadlock, you're trying to acquire power advantages over your opponent, and you do that by playing to the map. You exploit the waves, you exploit the jungle that spawns, you fight for the urn. And what determines your ability to do that at any given moment is the same things that determine what you should be doing when you're ahead. It's, do I have a health advantage? Do I have a money advantage? Do I have more players on this side of the map? Am I playing a character that can invade, or am I playing a character that can't? And those decisions that you're thinking about, or those things that you're thinking about, influence your decisions of like, okay, when I am ahead, can I invade that center sacrifice, or can I overwhelm that tower and take the tower? But it goes both ways. When you're behind, you still should be thinking entirely, how do I get souls? How do I get power from the map? What can I do? And when you're low on HP or you're low on souls, there's fewer options you have, but you should still be thinking in terms of like, okay, what camps can I secure? What camps can I defend from the enemies that are wanting to invade? Can I snag that urn at this moment? Because though we might be down souls, maybe we have Kelvin ult and a Dynamo ult, It's the exact same things you should be thinking about when you're winning. Can I actually take that jungle camp? Can I actually get that tower? Think the same thing in reverse when you're losing. You have fewer options, yes, but it's the same kind of decision making. It doesn't fundamentally change. Like, oh, I should.
Understood.
If when I'm losing, I should deathball more. Let's say no, that's not necessarily the case. Just like it's not necessarily the case when you're winning.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Certainly.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope this was a productive session, but it was a pleasure.
You as well. Thank you so much.